And Tim is doing this briefing session for you to get you to think about things you need to take into account when planning public use computer facilities, do's and don'ts. It's quite a bit of technical stuff, so some of it I wouldn't want to be rude and say make you glaze over, but it'll open your eyes. And the kind of thing we just say to everyone is get some advice and some support to scope it out when you've got to get quotes anyway. I'm sure Tim can, and there's loads of other companies out there. We don't recommend as such, but if you want to list the ones who we know have supported other organisations through their previous grants, we'll happily share those with you. And obviously, Tim himself is here today, and his contact details are here. So if I hand over to Tim, he'll take you through the presentation. We aim to finish at 2:15. So we've got like just over an hour. So over to you, Tim. Thanks very much.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm going to whiz through some of these slides because they're not a big part of what I'm doing. Let's just make sure my screen, there we go. Right. There will be a question and answer section at the end. However, I've got no problems if I say something during this presentation and you want to have a question on it, please just bob in straight away and ask questions away. I'll just whiz through these a second. Right. This is the experiences we've had by doing some of the VOLA. I was with a charity this morning who's going to be applying for the VOLA, and these are the sort of questions and things we were going over them. First of all, what are you trying to achieve? What's, if I'm going to simply give you several laptops or tablets or desktop suites, what are you going to use these items for? You then got to look at the cost beyond just buying them outright. There might well be support costs going ahead, which cannot be funded. There might be software costs. A lot of software these days is on a monthly payment scheme, again, which can't be funded beyond a certain limit. You've got to look at the broadband. There are several different types of broadband and where you can go for it to require that. You then got to look at the protection of it. What happens if you have 5 tablets and 1 or 2 go missing? How do you sort of limit that walkabout situation where kit can go walkies? We're then going to look at purchasing laptops and desktops and tablets and things to look out for with them and the software that goes on them, and also additional items which you might not have thought about. There's then the technical time, which is for someone to come out and actually configure all this. The worst situation we've seen is when people will build a laptop or build a desktop PC with 1 user account, and within the first 3 weeks, someone's changed the password and nobody knows what it is. And then that machine becomes redundant until a techie can come out and fix it. So there's quite a few. There's also the budgeting side, a program called Charity Digital. You've got to look at your cyber essentials, maybe qualify for that, your legal responsibilities, and then as I said, any questions at the end. So there's quite a lot to go through in an hour, so I'm going to sort of whiz through it. So the idea of this is public internet access. As we know, the whole world's gone online. Everything you do these days, from banking to social media to doctor's appointments to everything, is all online. One of the problems people haven't thought about is a lot of the public actually don't have a facility to get online. They don't, they used to be able to go to libraries, but they seem to have died out. So when somebody can't afford to put data on their phone to go online or have these resources, where do they go? Not everybody can have broadband in the house. There's a large portion of, especially in the Northwest, people who do not have access to broadband. It's a crazy situation, but it's a situation nevertheless. So you need to look at who's going to be accessing it. Is it existing clients or your service users? Is it totally going to be open like a coffee area where the general public can come in? Do you have any existing facilities which this funding could improve? Also, do you have to look at a situation where you book a reserve access? We'll come back to that in a minute. And also things like, how do you control misbehaviour? There are certain legalities which, because you're offering public access, you might not know you're on the hook for. So we have to look through those as well. There's other ones, other things which this can fund, which you might need to know about. Revision of desks and tables, very simple one. Where are you going to put these? Storage.
What?
Oh, sorry?
Can people mute themselves, please?
Okay.
Talking.
You've got
Well, it's an unusual one, that.
storage and security and storage. If you were to be successful and you suddenly acquired 6 laptops, crazy thing, like how would you actually charge them? Do you have 6 desks which can be plugged in and permanently for charging? How do you make sure you keep track of them? Where are they? And you've got things like noise and disruption and access to mains power. A lot of the charities I visit are very limited on mains power. And so making sure there is a single place where they can charge everything is not a bad idea. There are a couple of, this is more to do for Stuart. You need to get 3 quotes. You need to get proper licenses. You cannot use illegal software on this. So if you want Microsoft Office, you're going to have to buy it. Things again with Adobe, so you cannot. It has to be actual proper licenses and not the ones you can acquire on the internet. On the don'ts, there's 2 main ones. Don't use deals. So because the funding can take up to 2 months, maybe a bit longer before the kit is actually being purchased for it to be installed, if you have a deal which is like, today's deal, it's only £200, well, in 2 months' time, that deal might not exist. So always go for mainstream prices. Don't look for the deals because you can get caught out. Right, we're just going to look at a standard basic network. So there's the World Wide Web, there's the internet. And what most people do is they will go and get BT broadband, they will go and get Virgin or O2 or a whole range of broadband providers. And they will give you normally a free router. And that router provides Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is getting better, but it's basically based for a home. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation in your own personal houses where the Wi-Fi is downstairs in the front room and the back bedroom doesn't get it. But it's getting better, but it's really only basically for limited Wi-Fi access to connect your laptops and your phones to. Normally for a family between 3 and 5 people, maybe 8 and 9 devices. In a charity situation, you could have a lot more devices connecting to it. You could have staff devices. You could then have the charitable, the donated devices through this grant fund. So you might find that you can overwhelm the Wi-Fi that this sort of router becomes. The key thing with this router is it doesn't come with what's called a web content filter. Now, this is one of the legalities of offering public internet. You have a duty of care to make sure people can surf safely. So you should be being able to prove that you can block porn sites, gambling sites, adult sites, a whole range of different types of sites, radical sites, for example. These routers don't do that, they simply give you internet. Now, they do come with a parental control to a degree. How good or bad are those? And it doesn't stand up saying we use BT's parental control. Part of the public access is to prove that you have taken a reasonable step to protect the people using your internet. So the one way around that is to replace the free BT router or the Virgin router, whatever you get, with a business router. Now, a business router comes with several additional features. These free ones don't. It comes with what's called quality of service, for one thing, which is where you can say certain people, for example, doing a video call, will have priority over someone who's just surfing the internet. They can block sites with this web content filter, where they can say you're not allowed to go to these types of sites. So it's a way of being able to protect your network. Most businesses will have this sort of business router to protect their network. It also has a very highly secured firewall, just to make sure that one device can't see another device. Expanding on this, you might want to go for a switch. A switch is a simple way of connecting multiple devices together. If you have a switch, then you can have these things called Wi-Fi access points. Wi-Fi access points will then extend your Wi-Fi coverage through your building correctly. Again, they're business rated, they're not home rated. So things like, if I have 3 devices connected, if I was under a normal BT free home hub, those 3 devices could technically see each other. And someone like me with a mobile phone, I can connect to your Wi-Fi and I can scan and see who else is on this Wi-Fi. What are they looking at? What are they using? I can break into them. With a business Wi-Fi, it's separating. So each device connecting cannot see another device. Again, that goes back to your public responsibility. So if someone comes in with their own phone or their own laptop, they can connect securely to the Wi-Fi, knowing that nobody else can hack into their device or see their device. Switches are also used to connect desktop PCs. You might want a printer. One of the things, you can get a Wi-Fi printer, but they just don't work. They work great with 1 or 2 devices in the home, but when you try and connect multiple devices to it, they're a nightmare. So having what's called cabled printer is the best option. As I was saying before, part of it is security. Now, one thing you might want to think about is something like a lockable cabinet, where you can put these tablets and laptops inside it. You can instantly see if one is missing. It charges them overnight, so they're fully charged. That way, you know, when someone says, "Can I borrow a laptop to do X, Y, and Z?" and you pull a laptop out and the battery's dead, and now you're scrambling around trying to plug the thing into a wall socket somewhere. The charger will always make sure they are fully charged, ready for you to use them. So it's not a bad idea to get that. We'll come back to those in a minute. But that's the basic concept. What we found is a lot of people are just starting off with, I have a BT broadband router and I have Wi-Fi, but it doesn't cover all the building. So we're saying you can spend some of this money to get your infrastructure right. So you can expand your broadband, you can expand your Wi-Fi coverage, you can make sure it's secure. And because this is business rated, yes, it costs a little bit more, but it means it's going to work 24/7, because that's what businesses demand. So it's useful to look at these extra options rather than saying, I want 4 laptops and 2 tablets. You're going to make sure they actually connect and work day in, day out. When we're talking about broadband provision, you've got to think about what you are going to use it for. Now, to give an idea, you more must have heard of BT Infinity, BT Superfast Broadband, BT this, and so on. That would give you between 70 and 90 on a download speed, which it will work between 15 and 18 devices. So if you say, well, I want to get 4 laptops and 2 tablets, that's 6 devices. But there again, you're also saying, well, I've got 4 staff and they've all added their mobiles to it. And I might have other people coming into a cafe I have and they want to add their mobiles to it. So it's very, very quickly, easily to go over the 15 to 18 devices. So in that environment, you've got to be careful, because if then someone says, could I do a video conference? They would have a poor video conference. It will be blocky. It will be because other people are using the broadband. This goes back to why you have a business router with quality of service. So you can manage who is using your broadband and who has priority over things. You say phones and video conferencing will have priority over someone just searching YouTube and doing that. This morning, as I said, I went to a charity that wants to apply for this. They've only got 20. So when they came to me and said, we would like 8 laptops and 3 tablets, I was kind of like, well, they're not all going to work properly, because you've only got a broadband speed of 20. They're in a terrible area for broadband. And one of the things we're going to look at is see if we can improve it for them. But so one of the things to do is to go to this website, fast.com. And it's very simple. It will just take you, I don't know if you can see can you still see that screen? I don't know. Let me just try sharing my screen. Hang on a sec.
We can see the screen, we can see the slides.
You can't see my speed test. Hang on a sec.
No.
Share. Hang on a sec. So share that. So you should be able to see that. So at the moment, that's my broadband speed, 250. So do this check, do it a couple of times during different parts of the day, because it will fluctuate slightly depending on what else is doing. But this will give you a further idea of the broadband speed you currently have. And then you can have a look at that and say, well, does that match my provision of my broadband? Let me share that back here. One of the best places you can get it, depending on how long you've had your broadband. Another thing, always review your broadband. We had a company who had broadband for 4 years, and I went to a website called Uswitch, typed in their postcode, and for £5 less a month, they could get 3 times the speed. But they just never renewed it. They never reviewed what they could potentially get. If you're in a virgin area, that's usually the best one you can get. The cost of virgin compared to the speeds they give you is the best in the market at the moment. So if you're in a virgin area, you can get some very good speeds. Oops. Right, let's just note for you. Okay, let's look at the equipment you can buy. Let's start with laptops. First of all, don't go for Chromebooks. Okay, they're just a no-no. They may look good. They're normally a lot cheaper than a normal laptop. But in a public environment, what you've got to be able to do is reset the laptop between each public person using it. So if I came in at 10 o'clock and I used your laptop for half an hour, I want to be able to walk away knowing whatever I did in that laptop has been reset. So the next person who uses it can't see where I web search, can't see if I log into my emails, can't see if I create any documents. It's all been reset. Chromebooks don't do that. Chromebooks are a great solution because they record everything you do, and when you log back into them, they say, hey, I know who you are. So unless you're prepared to create a unique Google account for everybody who's going to use that Chromebook, it just becomes a nightmare. So Chromebooks, I would seriously do not use. I would stick with brand names, HP, Dell, Lenovo. They're the 3 main manufacturers. The reason behind that is because they support their products for at least 5 years. So when Windows 12 comes out, they'll have the drivers for it. Their software will be supported. If you go for the lower manufacturers, Zeus, Asus, things like that, those laptops might not support the new software. The other thing is, again, these are business names, which means you can get spare parts for them. So if someone accidentally spells a liquid over the keyboard or accidentally cracks the screen, you can get it replaced. If you go for the lower end brands, it is very, very hard to get spare parts for them because they constantly change their models at least 3 or 4 times a year. So please stick with HP, Dell, or Lenovo when it comes to laptops. Now, I don't know if you know about the 14th of October this year. On that day, Microsoft is no longer supporting a whole raft of software. Part of it is Windows 10. So the rule number 1 is, if you're buying a laptop, make sure it is running Windows 11, not Windows 10. Windows 10, after the 14th of October, it will continue working, but will no longer be supported by Microsoft, which means as you get new printers, new software, security updates, all will be missing. So make sure they are Windows 11. There is an awful lot of great deals out there for laptops. And when you look at them, they're all Windows 10 because they're trying to get rid of all the back stock. So don't go down Windows 10. There is a little thing here, which what I've said is you're really looking for, that actually should say 9th, but it's an Intel i5. Now that tells that Intel make 4 processor types. They make the i3. That's a home computer. It's used for ad hoc, 1 or 2 hours a day, surfing the internet and Facebook and things like that. An i5 is the Intel business entry machine. That will run Office, it will run Word, it will do all the things that you wanted to do. The i7, which is the big brother, is the heavy duty. I'm doing big Excel spreadsheets, I'm doing a lot of the graphics works and things like that. And the last one, which is the i9, that's for gaming. So unless you're into a serious gaming PC, an i5 will quite happily do you. Now, when you look at the specs on a laptop, it will say i5, and then there'll be numbers after it. The number after it will either be 9, 10, 11, or 12. It might be 13 if you want to go for the brand spanking new one. That tells you what's called the generation. Now, each generation is twice the power of the previous generation. So the difference between an 8th generation and a 9th generation is twice the power of the processor. Okay? Now, again, there are a lot of people selling Windows 11 laptops on 8th generation processors. So I can buy a HP 8th gen laptop for about £400. I could buy an i5 9th generation laptop for about £450. Don't be tempted to go for anything. That's my mistake there. That should say 9th. The only reason is the 8th generation is the very, very minimum to run Windows 11. So there's no longevity in the hardware. So when Windows 12 comes out next year, these laptops you bought this year won't really run it. They will have problems with it. It might be a bit slower. So always try and go for the highest generation you can. In this case, it's an i5 12th generation. The 12 is the 12th gen. Anything below 8th generation won't run Windows 11.
Tim, did you say, so is 8th right for when I put these slides online? Did you just say it should be updated to 9th?
It should be 9th, I would say. 9th will give you at least 2 years longevity. If you go for a 10th gen, if you look after it, it'll be 3 years. So the higher the generation, the longer your laptop will last you, but you'll pay a bit more for each generation.
Yeah.
So
Right.
again, there are lots and lots of deals of this laptop runs Windows 11, it's an 8th generation. And you're like, I'd rather pay the £50 more and get a 9th generation, or pay the £100 more and get a 10th generation. Because these laptops will last me longer. As long as I look after them, they'll last me longer. Laptops, besides that, it should have a minimum of 16 gig of memory. These are stats you'll see on the specification sheets. If you go to Amazon or PC World or whatever, they'll always give you a spec sheet. And you're looking for 16 gig. If it hasn't got 16 gig, it's going to run slow. Doesn't matter what generation it is, it will run slow. Because Windows 11, just to load the thing, uses 6 gig. So if you bought an 8 gig machine, just to turn it on, 3/4 of your memory is gone. So you want at least 16 gig. The only other difference is the screen size. There's a 14-inch screen and a 15.3-inch screen. If you're going to be taking these laptops out and about into the community, I would go with 14-inch screens. If you're going to be using them in-house, so people can sit down and maybe write a CV or fill forms in on the internet and so on, I would go for the larger screen. It simply allows you to read more and see more on the screen. But again, that's personal choice of how much space you have. The 15-inch big screen, slightly bigger laptop, that's all. The only other thing is, I would suggest that whenever you buy a laptop, buy an external mouse. They only cost like £4. But I don't know if you've had the experience of trying to use a laptop with the inbuilt tablet, the mouse mat thing, and it's horrible to use. And if you're not used to using a laptop, they're terrible. They also break easily because a lot of people put too much pressure on them. It's the biggest problem we have with laptops, where we're replacing them. We must replace 2 or 3 a month of the laptop, the mouse pads. So just buy an external mouse. And then if they break it, you can just plug another one in. It costs like £4. Desktop PCs. Again, same sort of thing. If you're looking at building an IT suite, excuse me, couple of things. Don't use all-in-one computers. They're very hard to upgrade and they're very costly to fix because it's all in one unit. So if it breaks, you're losing the monitor and the PC. If you buy separates, then if someone accidentally breaks the monitor, you can replace the monitor, or if you break the base unit, you've got the monitor for a new base unit. So I would steer clear of all-in-ones. If you are going to have an IT suite, I would make sure it's networked to a switch, like we said in the previous slide. PCs can work on Wi-Fi, but it's not great. They're designed to run with cables in the back of them. So they want to be a network. So you might want to, when someone comes out and helps you review what your requirements are, they should be saying, yes, we need to put some cable in this building. And we can have cable people come in and we can help you with that and put cabling in. PCs do come in many sizes, mini, small form factor, desktop. I would stay away from towers because they're simply too big. A tower is not that high. I would normally go for what's called a small form factor. The minis are great, but if you leave them on all day, every day, they will burn out. They're really small. They're about literally that size, the mini computer, and it's just too small for public use. You'll have problems with them overheating. So go for what's called a small form factor. That's the standard sort of desktop-y, shoebox size PC. Again, you're looking for an i5, a 9th gen and above processor, 16 gig. Don't forget when you're buying monitors to look for adjustable monitors, not only in flex forwards and backwards, but up and down as well. Because you'll have different people who have different heights and different mannerisms. So having an adjustable monitor which you can move up and down gives you an extra bit of flexibility. Oops. So just to give an example, this is a standard laptop. I pulled these off relevant sites and things like that. We quickly whiz through them. So first one, a Lenovo, business grade, Windows 11 S, Intel Celeron processor, 4 gig of memory, 115 quid. Sounds like a nice laptop. Wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. First of all, it's running what's called Windows 11 S. The S means it's a cut down version, which means it's got limited security. It's the lowest Windows you can run, and I would stay away from it. It's also only got 4 gig of memory, which means as soon as Windows loads up, you're out of memory. So if you put Office on it, or you put anything else for them to use, it will run out of memory and run very, very slow. So that one you stay away from. This one, the Zeus, first of all, it's not a business machine, it's a home PC. And you can see it's got Windows 10 Home. Just for that reason, I wouldn't touch it. Here I've got a HP, I've got a 11 Pro, i5, 12th generation processor, 16 gig. That is mostly the one I would go for, because the other one's a Chromebook. And then this one, again, this is, again, a naughty thing. This is a HP, so it looks good. It's Windows 11 Pro, but it says here it's an Intel i5 6th gen. I know because you have to have 8th gen and above to run Windows 11. That's an illegal PC. So what they're doing is they put an illegal copy of Windows 11 on them. So after your first 30 days, you'll get a big blue box coming up saying, this is an illegal version of Windows. And you then have to go and buy the legit version for 120 quid. So again, be careful. You know, the one I'm going for is £530. It's the most expensive, but it's the only one that fits the bill that you're going to have no problems with. It's a business machine. It's got Windows 11 Professional on it. It's an i5 with 16 gig. So that's the one I want to go for. All these others, I wouldn't touch. So again, it looks very confusing. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute. That's why talking to a technician or an IT person, he can make sure you're getting the right equipment. We've had so many charities in the past who've gone out and bought PCs and said, well, they don't really work that well. I'll turn a laptop on, and 25 minutes later, I'm still waiting for it to load. And in a public environment, you can't have someone who's drunk the coffee and is still waiting for the laptop to load. So make sure you get the right kit. The same thing with PCs. This PC, all these came from Amazon. So, and they're all the exact same PC. So this one's an 800, small form factor, that's the size of it. It's an i7, good processor, 2nd gen. So scrap that one, it's also running Windows 10. This one, same processor, i5 7th gen. It's running Windows 11. It's a 7th gen. It's illegal, which means for the first 30 days, it will load Windows. And after that, you'll get a warning message saying, cop up 120 quid for the correct license. This one, looking on spec, it's a 4th gen. Don't touch it with a barcode, even though it's 100 quid. So again, looking down them, the only one that fits the bill, unfortunately, again, is the £450 one. Now, that comes with Windows 10 Pro. Sorry, I should have updated the slide. Even if you did buy a Windows 10 professional PC, as long as it's an 8th gen and above, you could upgrade it for free to Windows 11. But it's simply better to buy a Windows 11 PC straight off the bat, rather than saying, well, I'll buy an older PC and I'll try and upgrade it. It's simply easy to buy a new one. Tablets, very simple, Apple or Android. They're the two choices you have. A lot of people like Apple. I like Apple. It's a very, very good system. The problem with Apples, I find, is they're expensive. And in a public environment, if you break them, they're not cheap to replace. You're into £300–400. So I would stick with an Android machine. It does all the same sort of things. Yes, it's not an Apple, but they're pretty much just as good, as long as you stick with Samsung or Lenovo. You'll see lots of tablets with weird names on them, names I've never heard of. And what you'll find is when you start trying to use the screen, the touch isn't very good. If you stick with Samsung or Lenovo, those are very, very good Android tablets. Make sure that if you're setting one up, you create at least 2 accounts on it to make sure that the person using it doesn't change the password and then you've got a dead device. So you always have a backup account, you can log into it to get around if someone changed the password. We've seen it so many times where we've delivered out 10 tablets and 6 have come back because the people have changed the password. They thought it was fun to change the password on or put a different PIN number into it. And then we have to basically hack them and do a factory reset on them. Also, make sure that you're using parental mode. So if they're in public use, you activate parental mode. That means the person using it can't download software, can't install apps, can't misuse it. It's equivalent for a child using it, so it's protected. So you should at least have your account and then a child account in parental mode. You can also make sure things like you could, on the tablet, say, activate the where am I? In case one does go walkie, you can locate where it's gone. So there are they come with lots of different security options. The only thing with the tablet is make sure you do the updates regularly on it. Make sure if it says there's an OS upgrade, do the OS upgrade on them. Tablets get out of date very, very quickly. You have to start crashing on them if you don't keep them updated all the time. Right, so effectively, what we're saying is buy Lenovo, HP, Dell. Don't go for Asus's, Acer's, and the other ones. Simply because they're not as reliable, you can't get spare parts for them, and they're not supported. Look for, again, it should be i5, that should be a 9, I do apologise. 9th gen or above to go through that. Looking at the software you're going to put on these devices, as I said, you're going to need at least 3 types of software for a standard device. You're going to need to have Windows 11 Professional. You might see it just says Windows 11. If it just says Windows 11, change it. don't buy it because it will be S or home. They're hiding that it's the low end or the home version. Always go for the professional version. It comes with additional security and additional programs to fix it if it goes wrong. You need to have business level antivirus, professional paid for antivirus, to make sure it's all going to be secured. Also, do not use Microsoft 365 on a public computer. Microsoft 365 is a fantastic environment, and for organizations, it's absolutely amazing. The problem with Microsoft 365 is once you've installed it, it's looking for someone to log in with an account. And once you log in with that account, it then says, right, I will learn who you are. And with the UI, AI stuff, it then starts going off and saying, oh, you're interested in this, you're interested in that. I mean, we use 365 here. I hate the thing. I don't tell my computer what I'm doing. It tells me what I need to do. So it's a very good environment, but it's terrible for public computers because it remembers what everyone's done. So again, unless you're going to create a 365 account for everybody who's going to ever use that computer separately, it just remembers too much information. If I log into my bank, it remembers my credit card. So next time I go to a website, it says, oh, do you want to buy something with this credit card? So stay away from using Microsoft 365. You're looking for a purchased version of Office 2021, or the latest version just come out, 2024. Home and Student is a good one. That means it's your software. It will stay on the PC. Anyone can use it. There's no login to it. It's totally anonymous when people use it. So if someone creates a document in it and then they log up the PC, it forgets that person created that document. So the person has to save it to the cloud or to Google Drive or Dropbox or something else. But it's very good at forgetting things. 365 doesn't forget anything. It remembers everything you do. So the three main things are, it must be Windows 11 Professional, you must have a business antivirus, and it must be a paid for MS Office, not the monthly 365. It won't work in a public environment. Couple of other things. If you're thinking of using video conferencing, or you want people to watch videos and things, don't give them headsets. The public, again, going back to that public liability of what you have to do, it's people are using headsets between people, you have to alcohol wipe them after every single use. So it's normally easier to tell people, bring your own headset or give them, or you can buy earbuds that pop into your head for like £1 each and say, use a set of earbuds. But if you go and buy headsets, you're legally responsible to clean them with alcohol wipes after every single use, which becomes a bit of a nightmare. Also, stay away from colour printing. This is allowing people to print out any documents or website information they found. If you're thinking of offering that bit so someone can come in and say, oh, I've written a CV, can I please print it out? Colour printing is the most expensive way of printing. And I've had people, unfortunately, when they've printed the page on the website, they've accidentally printed the entire website, all 70 odd pages of it. And suddenly the ink has run out. So stay away from colour printing, and also colour laser is very, very costly. Webcams, but you've got to make sure there's privacy issues. I would only recommend you use them on laptops and tablets, and you maybe have a quieter or a private area. If someone wants to do a video conference call, they can go somewhere else. You don't want to have a bank of computers, and the middle one is a video conference machine, which people can see what's going on behind them and around you. Do allow personal headsets, as I said. When it comes to printing, the best way is a large capacity black and white laser printer. It's the cheapest way of printing. So if you simply want to offer people to print CVs out or print forms out, having what's called a black and white laser printer is the cheapest way of keeping your running costs down. You might need additional network equipment, switches we talked about, extra cables to connect all this, Wi-Fi access points to expand your Wi-Fi so it covers the entire building. Securing laptops, buy a charging cabinet. It makes life so much easier when you have 8 laptops in an 8-bay cabinet and you can instantly see, right, oh, there's one missing, where's it gone? It's amazing, especially tablets. Tablets are so easy to get lost in buildings, and it could be several weeks before you realise we've lost one, where's it gone? Having a cabinet which charges it, and these cabinets can be used for laptops and tablets, the dual purpose, but go for those things. I would also, if you're going for laptops, I would buy a second power supply for them. When you buy a laptop, you're going to put one of them in the charging cabinet. Now, the last thing you want to do is take the laptop out. Someone's been using it pretty much all day. It's running low on charge, and the only power supply you have is wired into the cabinet. So if you buy additional matching power supplies for them, you can have those as spares to dip out as you need. So you want to get a think about purchasing additional power supplies. Also, if you're going to take them out and about, make sure you put them in laptop bags. It's amazing how many people I've seen carrying laptops around in plastic bags. And you're thinking that is not a good, secure way of doing it. So make sure that if you are going to take them out and about, you do have proper laptop bags. If you are going to wire up desks for PC setup, make sure they have cable management. It looks so messy having cables dangling down the back of desks and things. So if you are going to have to apply this funding, put in for new desks and new chairs, make sure the desks come with cable manager. You've then got, someone like my time to configure these devices. You can set them up yourselves, but if you want it done properly, from what we've experienced, the first time we built a internet cafe, it lasted about 4 weeks before it was utterly destroyed, and we learned a lot from it. So nowadays, if we build a Windows environment, we'll put the Windows on correctly. A lot of PCs you buy will come with third-party junk. Free copies of antivirus you don't need. They'll come with free games and all that other kind of stuff, and all this 30-day evaluation stuff. You want to get rid of all those, because after 30 days, they don't work anymore, and they just sit on the background consuming power of the laptop. We create what's called multiple user logins. So, for example, the first one is called kiosk mode. When you log in with the kiosk mode user, it just gives you a web browser. That's it, nothing else. You don't get Word, you don't get Windows, you just get a web browser. But anything done in that web browser, as soon as you close the program, it forgets what you've done. I don't know if you've ever gone to a web browser and you've logged into your email system and a box pops up saying, shall I remember your password? And you go, yes, please. Well, in a public environment, you want to make sure none of these passwords are remembered, because you don't want somebody logging into somebody else's email system. So you want an environment where the PC also resets as soon as someone's finished using it. We then have user mode, which is here is a standard laptop or a standard desktop, and we'll give you Windows, we'll give you Office, we'll let you do things, we'll let you surf the internet, but you can't change the environment. You can't muck around with it. You can't install your own software. You're here just to use that environment I have provided for you. We then have an admin mode, which allows you to be able to log in and add software or do updates or check the antivirus. And it gives you total admin of the PC. And then we normally have a backup account, which in case it all goes wrong, we've got a way of getting in there and fixing any problems that might have been caused. So that back account is purely just for the technical company. But all this setup has to be charged for. So in your funding, make sure you set aside time, talk to a technical person and say, how long will this take you? Is there a cost involved in this? Some people might, you might know somebody who can do it quite happily as a freebie, great. Other IT companies, they will charge for that sort of environment. You have to make sure that's part of your funding. To give you these are raw figures. Excuse me. Just to work your budget, you have to set this presentation will be online, so you need to write all these down. But there are certain ways. If you don't have a broadband line at the moment, or you want to replace it with a new one, we can fund an 18-month contract. So, you know, it'd be useful, even if you have broadband now, to go to that U-Switch site, type your postcode in, and see what options you can get. Sponsor?
Tim, we can fund up to 2 years on the broadband.
Oh, 2 years, okay.
Yeah.
So it might be worth just to review what broadband you currently have. Or it might be worth that if you have a broadband line now for your organisation, you could get a second broadband line in just for the public side. So the public would have one broadband and you would have a different broadband line. And that way you can make sure that anyone using a public computer will not have access to your computers. It's very strange when I go to internet cafes and things like that. I can log in with my mobile phone and I have a whole load of tools on my mobile phone and I can suddenly see the tills and I can suddenly see the card payment machine and I can see the laptop in the back. And if I wanted to be really manipulative, I can turn them all off and really cause Mary Helen in the organisation because they haven't split the broadband between what the business is using and what the public is seeing. Again, that goes back to having a business router, or better still, if your broadband isn't that fast, get a second line in, have two broadband lines and one dedicated just for the public to use. But this goes down most of the things you want to look at for buying. There's all sorts of different software you can go for: black and white laser printers, antivirus, technical time, earbuds. As I said, so it just gives you a rough outcosting that it's more than just going to the ground people and saying, I would like 4 tablets. You know, they're looking for someone who's thought it through to say, well, how good's your broadband? How good's your Wi-Fi coverage? How are you going to protect these? If you're buying a tablet, make sure you buy, you know, drop-proof cases for them. Are they going to be set up right? Are they going to have parental control on them? How are you going to protect them with a web content filter? There's quite a lot to think through when you're offering public access. 365, as I said, don't go for it, but just as an idea, if your organisation needs to have a very, very good operating system, which is Office and a whole load of tools and a way to store your data and a way to share your data, 365 under the non-for-profit scheme might be something as an organisation you want to look at. It's a very good way to be able to work with other staff members who maybe not always in the office, they're remote and things like that. And you can get it through what's called the charity program. That's the Charity Digital Exchange Program. That's the website you want to go to. Be careful. By all means, go to the website. By all means, sign up for it. But don't purchase anything through it. Microsoft has not made it easy to get charity software off Microsoft. They've made it incredibly difficult. And there's a whole lot of technical hurdles you have to jump through. However, if you've got a good IT support company, they can get through with ease with you. So they can get you to qualify a lot quicker than if you tried doing it on your own. So again, go and find a good IT company that supports the Charity Digital Program. And it's not just Microsoft software. There's a whole range of different software out there, which is some of it's for free, some of it's 9% discount, all different types. The only one is CICs and social enterprise are not eligible. However, under CICs, you can now get a Home Office certificate saying you're a CIC stroke charity, which does make you applicable. You have to go to the government website under CICs and you can apply for a particular certificate, which then says, well, you're not technically a charity, but we are a charity and you can use this as a charity registration number. So you can look into that, or I can give you help on that. Right, here are some weird things. Your legal responsibilities when you're doing a public computer. If you give someone a laptop and there is no password required to log into that laptop, then you are not responsible for anything they do on that laptop. If there is a password, then you are responsible for what they do on that laptop, which sounds absolutely crazy, but that's the way the current law is. So because these, any laptop should have passwords, and you do have reliable if they do certain things. So you've got to make sure that you've taken reasonable steps so the client doesn't catch a virus. I mean, it could be a case of, can I use a laptop? Yeah, fine, no problems. Can I use Office? Yes, you can. I've got a USB drive. I'm going to plug it in. All my data and all my life is on this USB drive. I caught a virus off your laptop. You are responsible. I'm going to sue you. And it's that simple because they bought all the data. So you've got to make sure you have an awful lot of T's and C's, terms and conditions, opposed to saying, we take no responsibility for your laptops. If you want further information, please ask a member of staff for our terms and conditions. And the best place to go to is McDonald's Wi-Fi T's and C's. And just rip off and plagiarize from McDonald's T's and C's. They are very, very good. And they cover you pretty much everything on liability and everything else. So that's a good one. Other things you've got to be careful of, for example, if you decide to have laptops and you're going to take them out and about, make sure you have vehicle insurance to cover it. So, because your vehicle insurance, it might say, well, you only have home or normal insurance. If you crash and the laptops are damaged or they're stolen or whatever in the back of them, you are covered to carry them. So you're going to be careful on that. In the same way, I mean, unfortunately, about 6 months ago, I got pulled over by the police. The first thing they said is, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to a client's. And which is totally the wrong thing to say, apparently, because that meant I'm doing a business trip. Luckily, I'm in a business car, so I have business insurance. But if I was in my own car and I said, oh, I'm just taking these to a charity, that's classed as business, and therefore you must have business insurance. So you can get done for having no insurance if you haven't got the right one. So do be careful. If you are going to be transporting this equipment around, you have the right insurance for your vehicle. It catches a lot of people out. Right, that's really my end of the story. Any questions? It's a lot to go through. Silence.
You know, you mentioned about multiple user logins with the public access part. Is that what we would need to ask our IT company to help us get?
It's always good to have at least 3 users. You want a user which just says, you can use this computer. You want a user that says, I have admin over this computer, so I can make changes to it. And then you want a backdoor user in case something goes wrong.
That's brilliant.
Because, I mean, literally, the amount of times we go out to these places and, you know, the kids have gone onto it, they're having a great time, they're feeling mischievous. I know, I'll reset the password. And they've only got the one account. And they say, well, we don't know what the password is. So then someone like me has to come out and, okay, it's only a quick hack. We can hack a Windows PC in about 30 seconds to reset the password. But it still means we have to come out and reset it. And it's easy to simply have just the 3 accounts. User, admin, backdoor, at minimum. We put TLC in just as an extra one, so people said, I just want to browse the internet, use chaos mode.
I was wondering about that, thank you.
Any other questions, or have I been clear as a mud?
Some of the chat, any advice on wanting to upgrade Wi-Fi infrastructure? I'm sure, Jen, you've probably got loads of advice, but that's what you'd need to get is some advice off Tim or whoever else, because like I know your building as well. It's like an old building, and I bet it's got big, thick walls, all the rest of it. So there's all sorts of things you need to take into account, I think, when you're doing that. But over to Tim.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I find a lot of charities are in church halls and things, and Wi-Fi does not go through 2-foot thick walls or big fire doors. So that's the idea of having these Wi-Fi access points. I mean, you can go for, I mean, you might have heard of these things called Wi-Fi extenders. All extender does is take a very poor signal and try and make it a bit better. I wouldn't touch those with a barge pole. What you really want is to look at saying, okay, we need to put Wi-Fi access points. So if you have 2 rooms in a building, you are in one room and the other room doesn't get Wi-Fi because the wall's too thick, then we need to run a cable from your broadband router through into the other room and then put what's called a Wi-Fi access point. That will give you far better access. and a stronger signal. All the stuff we sell is what's called business rated, which means it comes with a whole range of security features. I mean, to give an idea, if you're saying, well, okay, we have BT broadband in our office, the Wi-Fi covers the entire building, we're very happy. I'd be like, well, hang on a minute. First of all, you only have one SID, which is the name of what you see when you log on with your phone, for example. It might be BTZ dash da 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 da, some weird numbers. If everybody logs in on the same SID, technically everybody can see each other. So you don't want the public being able to see any PCs or mobile phones which your staff are using. So you might have gone to some organisations and there'll be Acme staff, Acme guest, for example. And the guest account is special because it keeps you away from the staff account and also separates so no one else can see your device. Now you can set those up to a degree on these BT routers and the Virgin routers and things like that. And you can change it so it's more your name rather than just a random set of characters. But you really want to have a business router and a business access points to do it properly. It also future-proofs you. So in the future, if you get donated more tablets and laptops and things, you know your infrastructure, your Wi-Fi is done properly and is secure.
Cheers. Another one in the chat. Someone's asking about the Nighthawk routers. Before Tim explains this, by the way, because obviously they can be used maybe where you can't get broadband, or you can use them if you're doing outreach stuff. But if you didn't attend the general briefing sessions, anyone wanting to apply for stuff for outreach activity, we can't fund stuff that is for purely outreach activity. We're on about improving the connectivity of a community building, not just kind of gearing people up to do outreach. Now, you can use mobile equipment for outreach, but you do need to, allocate it to whatever. Basically, it needs to be used in the building for most of the time, which you need to kind of put on your application form. Great. So over to Tim.
Yeah, most people are used to broadband being a router or something in a fixed building. However, if you're out and about and you're taking 2 or 3 laptops out to somewhere that maybe doesn't have Wi-Fi, or you're in a hall that just can't get the Wi-Fi that's in the rest of the building sort of thing, you can use these mobile devices. Now, effectively, it's a SIM card. It's just like an overgrown phone. So as long as your phone can get a good 5G or 4G signal, you can use one of these routers which mimics that. And that simply allows you to have 3 or 4 computers connected through Wi-Fi to a SIM card. And you can fund for the actual router itself, it costs a little bit more, and you can also get funding for 24 months for the actual SIM, which will be an unlimited data SIM to allow you to, as I said, be out and about. So if you were I'm going to places where the Wi-Fi is spotty or the Wi-Fi is terrible, if you've got a good phone signal, you can use one of these devices. But if your phone signal is terrible, well, this uses exactly the same technology, so that's going to be terrible. So it might still not work. I mean, I had one customer, they were over the water in a shopping mall in a bunker, 2 stories down with a concrete bunker. And they said, oh, can we get one of these? I said, no, because your phones don't work down here. So how is this device going to work down here? It's the same technology as a phone. But the Nighthawks, we found that that's a brand which is most popular with the camper van people when they want to get Wi-Fi in the camper vans. We thought, well, if they recommend it, and we've sold or used about 20 of them, and they're pretty good little devices. To give you, get you Wi-Fi with them not in the building.
If anyone is thinking of going down that road, that's where on one of the previous slides it gives you a link to an Ofcom website. It's worth looking on there because when you go on, stick in your postcode, it'll say whether different mobile providers, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent reception in a different postcode. Useful to do for your own house. And it'll say indoor and outdoor. So what I'd say is go on that and an easy way, like Pat's done it when he's been out. Pat from my team, when he was working with one organisation who was struggling to get a good one. So, you know, like Tim said, look at it on your phone. You know, turn your Wi-Fi off. Well, if there's no Wi-Fi, there, it doesn't matter anyway. If you're getting a good signal and you're on O2 or whatever it is, then O2 is going to have a good signal there, isn't it? You know, but you can also look at the Ofcom one because you'll only have one kind of
One thing
provider
just
on
come
your
out this year, well, towards the end of last year, is what's called multiple account SIMs. So rather than just going to, because if you notice, O2's bought out Virgin or vice versa, and Virgin bought out BT, and they're all mixing together. But what you can do now is you can get SIMs which have multiple signal rates. So rather than saying, I'm on Vodafone, you're on O2, you're on Virgin, you're on whatever, the SIM will simply go to the strongest signal. And it doesn't matter who the provider is, the SIM will connect to it. So when you're getting these mobile devices, make sure you get what's called a multi-form SIM. And that means, because if I, you know, I used to be on Virgin, and when I was in work in Liverpool, great signal. When I was at home, terrible. Now I've got a multi-SIM, and it's a cross between Virgin, O2, and Vodafone. And wherever I go, I get a great signal because it just connects to whichever one it is, and they all have agreements to share. It's a bit like when you go abroad and you use the roaming solution. They brought it back into Britain now. So again, it's a special sort of SIM. It costs about £2 more a month, but it's well worth getting for it if you go from these mobile devices.
Cheers. I think it's worth saying as well on the mobile router situation is you've seen from the other workshops, we ain't got a lot of money this year. So if you're looking to do stuff within your own building and then you're going, and I also want a router to do outreach, we'll have to look at these kind of things because we're going to have to be pretty tight really with what we're funding. So you can apply, but don't go over the top. I suppose is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Cool. Any more for any more, or should we end it there? We're actually ahead of time, which is good.
I mean, as I said, I mean, if you want any help, by all means, my email address is up there somewhere, I think. I'm more than
Yeah, it's
happy
on
to
the
come out and
first
have a
one.
chat with you, and you know, we can give you a hand. Or there's lots of IT companies out there that will give you the same. But do go and talk to somebody who knows what we're doing, and be fair with yourself and go for business solutions. You can save a little bit of money getting the home stuff, but it's not as reliable, it's not resilient, it won't last as long. If you go for business solutions, you'll get many, many years out of them, and they just work. They cost a little bit more, but it's worth going for that extra quality.
Cool. Lovely. All right. Thanks everyone for coming along. Don't forget the deadline's 9th of July. If you want any sort of contact details for IT, we've got a few. But like I say, I don't make recommendations. I step out of that. But we know some companies that have helped other people in the past and seem fairly happy with them. You got Tim's details as well. So, like Tim said, just get some advice. The recording's online, yeah. If you go on our webpage, it's scroll down the slides and the recording there as well. That was a question in the chat, by the way. So lovely. If you can end the recording for us, please, Jack, and then and everyone's